Welcome, everybody, to another edition of IPJ The Podcast. I'm Matthew Gonzalez, and I am so excited to have my clowning around with me co-host today, Miss Brandy Bailey. How are you, Brandy?
I am good. How are
I'm
you?
fantastic. Can we get a little round of applause there for her? Yes. Great job. Nice job
Thank
last week.
you.
Yes, over 400 and something views on our
Wow.
podcast, and it's still just rocking and rolling. A lot of great positive feedback. So it was a great show. Thank you so much.
Yeah. No, it's been awesome.
So I want to get right into it. We've got some stories in the news that are pretty interesting right now, and I don't know who you particularly have car insurance with or home insurance with, Brandy, and I probably shouldn't know. But I don't know if you do have with Geico. If you do, you're not going to be able to go into one of their locations anytime soon because, unfortunately, Geico has left California. They've left the building.
That is okay because I don't want to go in there. And I do have Geico for one of my cars.
Well, you're not going to be able to go in now. How does that make you feel?
That's, you know what? For me, it's good because I've always done it online or I've always talked to someone on the phone. So I didn't even know they had a building. So.
Right. When is the last time anybody went into a Geico? I mean, really, the office, you know.
When's the last time you haven't done something online?
Right. Exactly.
Or been pushed to do it.
Exactly. Also, there's some. Oh, by the way, if you do want to go in, you can go into one or two locations that they have in San Diego, California. That's interesting.
Yeah, that's a long drive.
And then the next thing I wanted to talk about was the puppy that was found in the McKinney fire. A little bitty puppy. Yeah, he was found wandering in the fire by a photographer. And I believe he was uninjured. Did you see that? Did you happen to see that?
Yes. I did. Actually, I know he is. I wanted to adopt him. But his mommy actually got him, I think the day after, or it was very close. The firefighters had sent out some pictures, and so she got him, and he is just too cute.
So no puppy for you.
No.
And then I want to talk about a great legend. Unfortunately, we lost Mr. Bill Russell from the Boston Celtics. He had been a part. He was a cornerstone, basically, of the Boston Celtics dynasty. They won straight 8 titles and 11 overall during his career. And he passed away this past Sunday at the age of 88, and he'll be greatly missed. So thank you so much to him and all that he's done to help mentor our youth in today's world. But now I want to get into something else real quick before we start jumping into our interviews, because we have some great interviews coming up for our viewers. And that is, I just really kind of want to understand a little about the structure of the schools, because as a parent, I take my kid to school, I drop him off, at the school, and then either I pick them up or miraculously they find their way home. So I want to understand a little bit more about this and understand the structure of it, the hierarchy. So you have the school board, you have a superintendent, you have principals. I mean, there's so many people involved in just educating my kid.
Yeah. So everyone in each echelon of the hierarchy serves a purpose. And so all of it is really about accountability from the top down. And so honestly, it starts with the school board. And so the school board, they oversee the superintendent, but they also oversee the administrators, because a lot of districts in different states that I've been in now, they definitely make sure that what is happening at the school site level is being looked at and they approve it. So there's a process for a lot of things. So you have the school board, they oversee the superintendent, they actually normally evaluate um, him or her. And then you have the administrative team at the district office, and then you have the school sites. Um, and a lot of the school sites have vice principals, assistant principals, whatever they call them, dean of students, and they're in the trenches with the teachers and everyone there. You have the teachers, and those are all certificated positions. And then you have um, classified staff, which are support staff and very important.
Wow. There's many levels to this. And so I'm just kind of, I mean, does it really take all of this bureaucracy to exist in order for the schools to function effectively, or is it just way too you know, um, overfill, or I don't know how you'd say it, too heavy at the top?
I wouldn't say that it's overfull or it's too much, or a lot of people will refer to it as top heavy, um, because when you're dealing with a district with thousands and thousands of students, it is very important that you have the support for the teachers, because your local administrators on the school site are helping them with direction and support to help them teach students. And then it it kind of goes up as far as going to the district office, and they kind of do the professional development training, monitor grants, get money for students, help with. I mean, there's a lot of facets to it, and so uh, if you don't have it in place, uh, you could see that students will miss out.
That's I
But
think is the big thing. The students would miss out.
well, the only reason why all of these people exist is because of students. So I think that's the main important thing, is that you know we are in a service position to make sure that students and families are served,
Hmm.
and everyone in that hierarchy should always have that front in their mind.
Yeah, makes sense to me. Absolutely. Um, so, if I wanted to get involved with my child's education, I mean, do I just go to the teacher then and say, hey, can I get you some pencils, or do I need to give my time? Do I need to give them some cash? I mean, excuse me for the grunting there. What more can I do to help if because I don't have a lot of time. I work constantly. I'm trying to bring home the bacon. Um, so what can I do?
I I think what we see is uh, when students are younger, we see parents being a little bit more involved because their children are young. When they're older and they're in high school, we see that there's less of a connection, and it's very hard to get parents in. But nonetheless, they're very important in all of the stages. And so having parents actually reaching out to teachers, they have different ways to reach out to them. There's, generally emails, sometimes teachers text. They have different programs that they use to communicate with parents. Uh, Teachers would love that if parents reached out. And that way you have this constant communication with the people who are dealing with your child each day. Dropping them off is one thing, but knowing what's happening in those hours that are very important.
Yeah, you just hit the nail right on the head. Dropping them off is one thing, but understanding and knowing all that other stuff that's going on in their lives is very important. Absolutely. With that being said, speaking of being educated, I think people should be educated about a case that has really it garnered national, international attention a few times recently, but it's been around for quite some time. I believe 50, 60 years now, maybe longer than probably longer than that. So yeah, probably a good 40, 50 years at least, maybe 60 years. And I'm talking about Emmett Till. He was, I believe, 14 years old when this occurred. And it happened because, and I'm just remembering the story. It happened because, if I get something wrong, please correct me. But it
I will.
happened because he allegedly whistled at a white woman, um, who then reported it to her husband, who then went with a friend of his, and they abducted the young man. Um, and they did some horrible things to him, and he died, and it was all based on a lie. Am I correct there?
Well, the question still is, was it based on a lie? I mean, uh, you know, it's been a very long time ago, and actually Hulu has it on. Um, there's, I think, a 6-part series or maybe a 4-part series, and it's actually called Women of the Movement. And his mom was very adamant that her son be seen in the condition that someone or persons left him in. And that took a lot of bravery on her part because it was very sad. But so he he was there. He was taken from his uncle's house, and they took him to another location, and then he, yes, he was pretty much um, tortured,
Yeah,
tortured.
yeah,
And then his mom was so strong and such like a wonderful person that she said the world needs to see him so that the world understands what this means for all of our children.
yes,
And it wasn't just about, you know, what happened in that instance, but she wanted everyone to be very clear that unacceptable for anybody.
I completely agree. And there was no justice. There was no court. There was no arrest over any of this, in regards to
They're
the allegation, right?
they're the the two the two people whom they assumed had everything to do with it, they did go to court, but they were
Right.
exonerated
They
and
were acquitted,
acquitted.
that's
And
right, by an all-white
yeah,
jury. Yes, that's right. And in those back in those times, and our younger generations, I'm sure, what is it? They didn't live it, they don't understand it, it's understandable. But in those times, I still remember my buddy from elementary, he wasn't allowed to go to church with me, the Mormon church there in Outwater, because he was black, and we were 5 or 6 years old, 6, 7 years old, and so you're talking about early 70s, and I did not understand that at all. I never saw his skin. I saw my buddy. That's what I saw, and so I never understood any of that, and I started to think God was evil. How could God keep my buddy out of the place where God is if He loves everybody?
so
So
that raises a lot of questions. Um, but I think one of the things that I've always kind of kept near and dear, and um, you know, I don't say that I don't see color because everyone saw color on me.
mm,
Um, I'm half Indian, Mexican, and half white, and
mhm.
so uh, it's always been one of those which sides are you going to be? But uh, some people will never understand that,
Mm,
and I just, in a place of worship, I would hope that is not something that is commonplace.
Oh no, I'm not. I'm sure not today. But I mean, we're talking early '70s, so
Yeah,
it was
well,
still
I was
lingering back
born
then.
in the 70s,
Yeah. So
so.
yeah. Oh boy, I'm dating myself here.
You are.
Yeah, it was a very
But
interesting time. Oh, go ahead.
I just thought that his mom being such a strong person, I highly recommend people watch it only because uh, it it kind of brings back the empathy that should happen for just young people who are trying to live life. And if they make a mistake, death is not the answer. And it was just, it really it struck me like in a really hard place because I love working with kids, and it just, oh my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, he was visiting from out of town. He was visiting family, so he wasn't even from that area. And then on top of that, I think what's most important here is that there was actually a bench warrant issued for the arrest of the woman who allegedly, made the allegation, and
Yeah.
that bench warrant went unserved for 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years or whatever. Um, and it's still active.
It is. And if you watch the Hulu episodes, not to say that it is actually completely 100% correct, but she sat in the seat or bench next to her husband and watched this kind of happen. And um, it just kind of puts you back in a different place. And uh, I would just advise people to look at it, read it, watch it, um, because it just makes you think about if you have a little one or you have some child that you're taking care of, it really makes you want to make sure that you're you're making sure that they're safe and they're being put in the best places because you never know.
Absolutely. And with that being said, I just I hope that there's some justice in either her passing or her arrest. Honestly, her passing peacefully. I mean, she's gone, but I'm sure it doesn't bring much justice for the family. It lost a young man who will never know what kind of greatness he could have brought to our country.
Oh, and he was beautiful.
Wasn't he?
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely a beautiful young man. So yeah, let's move on because that one hurts. But I got someplace else we can go here, and
Uh-oh.
unfortunately, yeah, we're gonna go to China for a second.
Oh
Yeah,
no.
I just want to give a quick brief to you to let you know
I
about
like my trees.
a new little
Right.
a new little story before we get into our interviews here. A story out of China comes from some great reporting. I was going to show some video on it, but in fact, I'll refer you guys to go look at it online because we've got this video, these interviews coming up. We need to get to those, so we don't really have the time to watch it. But I just want to let you know that you got to be careful out there with what you're partaking in when you're out there to parties, young people. Brandy, you remember back in the day going to parties and enjoying yourself and just being lax and never ever
No,
having
I
to.
never did that.
And hopefully, you were paying attention to any kind of drinks on the table, but you never know. And in today's world, there's a lot of really bad stuff out there, and people have easy access to it too. And whether they know what they're doing or they don't know what they're doing, because most of them do not know what they're doing, they're hurting people in very bad ways with this stuff. And some people are literally dying because they don't know what they're taking. So what am I talking
Well,
about? Oh, go ahead, please.
yeah. So if you watch A&E or have access to it, um, they have a show called Intervention. And so on Intervention, they actually have the latest season is about fentanyl. And we've heard it in the news because it's been an issue as far as Michael Jackson and a couple of other folks that we know, like Prince. And so there's an overdose of it, but they they have a family. It's a two-part series. A family of like 4 or 5 people who are all doing it, and they also have just an episode on what it's about. And I think it's really important because it actually shows what the pills look like and mimic what a Percocet looks like or whatever, and how these, what you're about to get into, these other folks who are Chinese, whatever, how they're creating the pills to look like what are pain medicine pills, and they're not.
Now, you brought up a really interesting point, because that's exactly where I'm going here, is that a report has been issued linking the Chinese government to Chinese triads who are now working with Mexican cartels to bring in all of that illegal fentanyl into our country. And the Mexican cartels, of course, are bringing that in through these pills and these other things and selling them to the streets here. And we are literally killing ourselves for our enemies. What are we doing? It's something I think we need to wake up to, Brandy. I think a lot of these young people out there, they're dealing with some very difficult things in life. It's tough. We've had alcohol for ages, heroin, cocaine for ages, all these different drugs and everything else. For some reason or another, we feel we need to inebriate ourselves just to be able to be human. I don't know what we're going to do, because with, like you're saying, they're literally working with this, Mexican cartels to bring in this fentanyl through these pills and all these other things you're saying. And the report proves it now. What are we going to do? I mean, they're putting it in everything now, and it's being used to literally drug us up and kill us.
Well, and I think I always think about the youth first. I just start there.
Yeah.
You know, if we have mental health awareness and extra help with our younger students and also with our whole student population, it really does make a huge difference with coaches, with counselors, with support staff that work with these kids, because the bus driver who says, "How are you doing this morning?" and "I can help you. You look like you're not doing well." I mean, those little things don't seem important, but they really are. And it really does help the mental health of students, because honestly, older people, it's really hard to reach them because they're adults and they get to do whatever they want. But I think when you're able to start with the younger students and people, you get to start balancing it and at least helping them to where they don't feel like, "Oh, well, I don't have a choice," or whatever. But, addiction is addiction. And so if those resources are being handled at a younger age, then we don't see it at an older age.
What if I'm a student in schools today? I'm just over 50, so I don't know anything about the schools these
So
days.
you're not.
But yeah, so I'm not. Thanks.
So you're not.
Yeah. So, but if our students that are in schools today, if they are experiencing something like this, where they are getting into these drugs, and they've got the wits about themselves to understand that this is not the path they want to go down, what can they do? Are there any resources, or do these
Oh yeah.
youth have to just kind
Yeah.
of cuddle up in a corner and get through a drug addiction?
No, no. Um, you know, uh, I always, I always say the first person they always reach out to is the person who's a liaison that meets them at the gate every morning, sees them, knows exactly what's going on, looks at them, knows, hey, something's not right with so and so. So you start from the gate to the bus to the counselor to the teacher. There's lots of places where students can reach out, and so if if they're having a problem with that, they always have other places to go, because generally I would see a lot of this would definitely um, come out in their behavior.
Mm.
And so I would see them as an associate principal and say, hey, what's going on? Like, you're not the same person I used to see. And, you know, that communication starts happening with home. Um, but it just has to be a welcoming environment.
Mm.
So it does feel safe. So
Gotcha.
kids can reach out. And I know that you had talked about being able to reach out to a couple of people at a school district. So
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. Um,
you knew
yeah. Um,
people cared about you.
it's important that kids have these opportunities, because uh, you I mean, you make such great points. Again, we get it and nip it in the butt when they're young, and it starts
Exactly.
there. And at the same time, though, the students have to also want to make that change. You can't force them at that age, unfortunately. It's at teenage, you can't force them to make change when they're already knee deep in a drug addiction. That's why parents at home, you know, hey, don't be afraid to walk in the room, search things, check things. You ain't got to go all, ballistic, but, use some finesse about it, accidentally knock over a bag. Oh, sorry about, that's what I do or did. Can't do that anymore. He's 23. So,
Yeah, yeah.
so
Well, but in calling parents,
Mhm.
oftentimes if you're getting a call home, it's always a negative connotation just with the call, but it doesn't have to be, and it's a partnership.
Yeah.
So the school wants to work with a parent because we want them to be successful at school, and that starts at home. They come to school ready to learn, ready to be there. I mean, I have seen it turn from completely devastating
Mhm.
to awesome, and I still talk and text and you know hear from my students from a long time ago.
Oh, that's
So
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, teachers are opening up their doors to homeless students, to
Mm.
kids that don't have food. I mean, they are working their butts off.
Yeah.
And so COVID really put a clench in it, but um, for kids that are suffering from something, all they have to do is go into the counseling office and just say, I just need help.
They've just got to be willing to ask for that help. Just make that move and you will get the help. So if you're a youth and out there, if you're a youth out there and you're listening to this, or if you're a parent and you're dealing with a situation like this, please
Call the counselor.
get involved. Yeah. Don't wait for your
Just
kid to
call.
do something. You do something, get involved,
Yeah.
because they have the tools to help you negotiate and to navigate the situation you're faced with. As a parent, I'm sure there's not a book you can go out and buy that'll show you how to navigate this, because it's your child and it's you. When you present this to somebody who can personally understand you and your family situation, they can personalize the tools that can help you best. So that's what I recommend too. Go see them personally. It's always good to read a book too. Don't get me wrong, but it's good to go see that counselor personally. Right?
right?
Yes, ma'am.
Books aren't bad. Books
That
aren't bad
books
because
aren't
we
bad.
like to read books.
Yes, and you'll find, I found a great book about fathering, parenting when I had my son, and I forgot the name of it, but it gave me some ideas of how to deal
Stop
with
it.
certain things, because parenting's brand new to you, so be willing to take go in the library or look up online some ideas, and you'll be just fine, and get your kids help if they need it. Stay in tune with them. Yes.
Hey, and just check in with their teachers.
Check
So
in with the teachers.
you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
you know what they're doing, and it's just communication is key.
Yeah, because your kids are at school how many hours a day, how often throughout the year? So your parents, I mean, your teachers, the teachers know a lot about them. I remember when my son graduated, one of his teachers he wanted us to meet. He called her his second mom. I was like, wow. I felt kind of. My wife was, like she was fine with it. It's a woman thing, I guess. They understand this, but I'm like, wait a minute, we're the parents here. But I didn't say that or anything. When I met her, I realized, I mean, she started telling me all these things about my son. Most of them I knew. There was a few that I didn't. And then I realized, wow, yeah, she's like a second mom to him. And so I'm just glad that they had that relationship.
Well, and your son was very lucky because he had a mom and dad, and a lot of the kids that I dealt with were foster kids.
Wow.
So they were in a system, and I still talk to them. So I must be kind of a pseudo mom because we still
Yes.
talk, and
Mhm.
they're in their late 30s.
Wow. See the
Yeah,
lives you've
so
affected?
I love it.
Yes,
I'm
that
like,
that
oh
is
my
fantastic.
gosh. So
Teachers,
yeah, so we
educators, counselors, wow.
yeah. So I mean, it's very important, but parents shouldn't feel scared to go into school. They should go if they have a concern and voice their opinion.
I agree. Absolutely. And speaking about going and voicing your opinion, we're going to get in now to a great interview that we had with a young lady out of Merced, California. Her name is Miranda, and she's with a group called Merced on Display. And she's basically involved in trying to get more awareness in regards to Measure C that is coming up on the Merced City ballot. We had a chance to kind of educate ourselves on it. It was a really good interview, and we'll talk a little bit about it on this side, Brandy. But let's show this interview now.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for that great conversation we've been having. But I want to now turn to some very important information regarding a measure that's being put up for debate and discussion again, to whether or not extend it. And I want to now bring in someone who's been actively involved in getting the word out about what's going on, and wanting you to get involved. Let me now introduce you to Miranda with Merced on Display. Great Facebook page. Check it out. Miranda, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Now, the Measure C sales tax, I'm not sure if you're aware of this too, Brandy, but the Measure C sales tax was actually enacted a number of years ago
Yeah,
by
I just looked
the,
it up and it was 2006.
Oh
wow.
wow.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
2006. And
So
it is
that's,
20 years, so it's set to expire in 2026.
gotcha. So we're looking at it coming up on the ballot here, and it's already
Right.
gaining some steam from the community as far as a debate on which way the vote should go.
Right.
And we've brought you on so you can kind of give us some idea and some sense of this whole measure, kind of about where it's come from and what's going on with it, and why it's coming up to a head here with the debate. So tell us more.
Okay, so first let's start with the actual wording. So this is what they want to put on the November ballot in 2022. And this would be the vote. So it says Merced Vital City Services Protection Measure shall a measure to maintain local services without raising current tax rates, such as 911, fire, police, medical, natural disaster response, community policing, gang prevention, youth services, job training, pothole repair, housing, homeless services, and other general city services by renewing the existing voter-approved half-cent sales tax until ended by voters, providing approximately 6.5 million annually with transparency, independent audits, all funds local be adopted, yes or no. Sounds great, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So then what's the issue?
So the issue is that's why I enunciated the forever tax until repealed, which is what I hear is extremely hard to do once it's on official. So the problem lies that, the city has tried to do some focus groups. They've done a phone survey. But basically the process that the city conducted has just been rushed. And if this is going to be a forever tax and we have till 2026, why are we putting it on the ballot in 2022? Like, let's wait a little and push it to 2024 to where we can get better community input, more community input, and just really make sure this tax is used to its full potential.
Yeah, I completely agree, Brandy. What do you think? I put up the Measure C dollars at work here, so people can see.
I don't understand what the urgency is to go outside of its realm of when it's actually supposed to be re-looked at. I can see focus groups happening, and obviously they need input. And in our conversation, we were talking about that the focus groups were a little bit minimal, and I'm not sure. Mainly, those are probably because there wasn't a lot of maybe publicity about it. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I guess more outreach needs to be done.
Yes.
And
so sorry.
Go ahead.
It's hard. Like, it's so hard to get people involved in these processes. I myself just started really getting interested in local politics when, we decided we were going to start our family here. So it's like,
good for you.
I need to know what's going on. Like, if we're going to make this our permanent home, let's make it a great place. I want my kids to grow up and be proud of where they were, raised. And it's like pulling teeth trying to get people to come to the focus groups, to do the surveys, to call in or go into city council. And another thing is they don't make it accessible. So the focus groups were like, I don't even know. I saw one, I think it was like at 10 a.m. on a Tuesday. Like, who can go to that?
Well, and also too, when they have these focus groups, one of the things that I always understood to be very important was to make sure that you had interpreters for
absolutely
the other groups that you want there. So I that's what I was just wondering. Accessibility is the most important thing.
Absolutely.
But also putting it out there.
Yeah, we have such a diverse community here, and a lot of communities have been historically overlooked. And, some of the city council members, I don't think they really truly understand what that's like. At the meeting I was at a couple of weeks ago, one of the members was like, oh, well, they can research it when they get their ballot. And it's like, wait, do you understand? Not everybody just like, oh, let me go see,
Yeah, that's why we're here. And that's why you're here, Miranda, is to get people's attention focused on the issues they need to be aware of, like this extension of this half-cent sales tax. Now,
Right.
from what I understand, the voters of the city of Merced approved this sales tax increase in 2006, and it was a temporary move. And it was supposed to be available for the first responders to help increase their budgets, to bring more staff or whatever they need to help bring down crime. But they now want to keep it permanent.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
So the breakdown. Okay, so the breakdown of how they have distributed this money is from 2018 to present, they have done 24.3 million. So that's 55% have gone to police. And you heard all, when I said all the things that they said this tax could be used for. So over half of it is going straight to police. The other part, big chunk, is 39%. So that's 17 million. That goes to fire. And then this tiny little piece, 2.8 million, went to parks. 6% went to parks.
Wow. And you would think that would be a great way to help deter youngsters and adolescents from getting involved in crime by making more activities available to them to keep them out of these situations where they could get involved with crime, correct?
Exactly. And it's like, these are the things that why they need this community input, because if this is going to be forever half-cent sales tax, it has got to be used wisely. And there's so much we could do with that. And so this is why the community engagement process is so important, and they need to extend it because, and personal opinion, put your boots on the ground, go knock on your constituents' doors, like hand them a survey, explain it to them. I don't know, do what you got to do, but.
I'm looking here at a recent article from the Merced County Times, which is a very good friend of the show. I really I enjoy Jonathan Whitaker's work. I don't know about you guys, but if you haven't seen his work, he does some great work.
Yeah.
In this article, it states that they had a good amount of firefighters and law enforcement who came to this meeting to kind of defend, the stand on keeping this funding in place.
Right.
But I don't see a lot of public.
Exactly.
The average Joe, the guy who's out there, making the buck or not making the buck. We all pay part of that sales tax, that Measure C, if you're in the city of Merced. Even if you don't live there, you're still paying that tax, right? Because you stop in, you have a soda or a candy bar or whatever, you get taxed for whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
But whatever taxes.
Yeah.
So it's really important for people to get involved. And that's your message, right?
Yes, that is. I actually, I got involved in this because of a fierce advocate, Shang Xiong. I don't know if you guys have ever seen or been to or watched a city council meeting. I'm sure that you've seen her speak on affordable housing, and she's been really, her and I have been emailing, and so when she sends me stuff, I'm like, this must be important. So then that's, where I come to Facebook, and I'm like, okay, guys, we got to get on this, and then the more I looked into it, I'm like, wow, this is a really big deal. Like,
yeah,
it doesn't seem like it half-cent, like whatever, but millions of dollars could be used, to improve our community.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
go ahead.
Sorry. I was just say shout out to Shang, because she, sends out all these social media posts on Instagram with the Leadership Council for Justice and Accountability, so I learned a lot about this from her, and then doing my own research on top of it. And it's like getting people to be active. Like, that's all we're looking for. It's like, let's show up on Monday, tell them, let's hold off on the tax to 2024 and really push community engagement.
Yeah. Brandy, did you want to say anything, Brandy?
Yeah. It's community engagement is very hard to actually get to happen. You really have to, being in education for many years, you really have to find how to find people. It's a complex issue that I faced many times. And so I remember we did coffee with counselors and different things, just so we could bring in the families, and then we would make sure we had interpreters and different things. But the families had to feel safe. They had to feel like they were welcomed. And then we would have to speak their language and not make it all of this bureaucracy talk.
Exactly.
they won't understand.
Exactly.
And it's not that they don't understand because, they just don't want to. It's just they're not immersed in it in every day. So you have to make it, to where everyone feels comfortable. And then whatever help they need to understand the logistics of it, then that's how you bring in people, and then they start buying in. I just remember having a lot of parents coming in, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we actually have people here. I mean, that was like a huge extreme thing.
Right.
And it's the same with the community.
It takes time to build up that community too. I work for a nonprofit, and I do breastfeeding counseling, and we've had a support group. It took us like a year to get people to come in and feel comfortable and keep coming back and share their stories with us. And it's like, oh, you did one phone survey and then you did this, and oh, okay, yeah, it's done. Like, no.
I honestly, there's most school districts have like an online system that they use to communicate with parents. And although I did have feedback at one of the schools that I was at, and they said my voice was very boring. I said, well, but I'm going to change that. Now I'm going to be animated. And when I send out a message, I'm going to talk about it. Like, you're going to be excited. So, I mean, when the city has different ways that they can communicate with people, and maybe that's just another way that they need to do it. And, hopefully they, that's their point.
Get it together.
Yeah, absolutely. Get it together, people. Now, to wrap up here, basically, so people are aware of, there was a city council meeting that was conducted a couple of days ago, I think, or so. A proposal was put in front of the council members whether or not to add the measure, proposed measure of taking it forward onto the ballot. It was a vote of, I believe, 5-1 or something of that nature. The only council member who said no was council member Jesse Ornelas. And if you don't know Jesse Ornelas, I know him pretty well. We did a lot of work back in his day when he was with the Brown Berets, and he was marching for quite a lot of social justice issues out there. You're okay. So that's awesome to see that he is really in there for the fight. He's not.
Absolutely.
There's 2 council members, by the way, that were also going to vote no, and they ended up switching.
Yep.
So somebody got in their ear, or somebody got in their heart, and told them it's not about the people, it's about my personal things, agendas. So Jesse doesn't have that personal agenda. He's looking out for you, the people. So make sure that you get involved too and help support him by calling up your council members in your districts and saying, why did you do this? So get involved. That's your point. That's your issue.
That's my whole thing. So we have Monday, Merced City Hall, August 8th. That'll be August 8th, 6 p.m. We really want people to show up and just say, help us convey, let's wait on this forever tax. And if you can't come in person, I know how hard it is. Please just, call, leave a message, leave a voicemail. 1 minute of your time. That's it.
There you go, people. August 8th, you said, at what time again?
Yeah, Monday, August 8th at 6 p.m. And I believe it's a special session.
6 p.m. Flood that place. Please send this. I'm serious. Send this video out to everybody this evening, this morning, afternoon. Get it out to all your family, friends, even those people that you don't like. Make sure they get out to the city hall and voice their opinions, whether you're for it or you're against it. The whole point is to get involved, Merced. Okay?
Yes.
And with that, Miranda, on behalf of myself and my co-host Brandy, thank you so much for joining us. Miranda, with Merced on display, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, guys.
Thank you for being involved. I am so excited that there's someone in the community who wants to be active and do something positive.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
It's so hard to get people who want to it's not even volunteer, it's just be part of your own life that you don't normally see on a daily basis. I mean, Miranda's awesome. She's obviously working on a whole lot of things. And I wish that I had her as my PTO mom.
Wow. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, handling a few things going on there. But
Yep.
yeah, she had some great insight into Measure C. She's really active about getting folks out there to understand the issue and to vote how they feel best represents them, or encourage those who are voting on this, like city council members, to vote in the way that they want them to vote. So I think it was a really good insight for us to understand. And I hope that either way, the people as a whole in that community win in the end. So,
As long as there's an awareness and people start to get informed, I think that's the most important thing.
yeah, absolutely. And speaking of the people getting informed, I want to just go ahead and make another quick little announcement here. It is with great sadness and grief and somewhat stress. Actually, no, it's with a whole lot of happiness that we say Tom Cavallero is out of here, Merson. That's right. Mr. Tom Cavallero announced his retirement and he is out of here. And it came kind of weird because we just did a podcast about it.
You know what? I don't know the correlation, but
you could be that good.
It is timely.
You could be that good. I'm telling you.
It is timely.
Do you remember back in the day when they had those 976 numbers and those people could, tell the future and stuff? See, we could do the branding on there. Yeah,
I have the 8-ball, so I just shake it up. And then I'm like this. Today's not the day. Boom.
Yep, there you go. That's a great way to do it. Yeah. So yeah, Mr. Tom Cavallero is leaving the Merced Police Department at the end of the year. It couldn't be any sooner. There is unfortunately he also left the sheriff's department as well, under malicious circumstances, or suspicious, I should say, circumstances. So again, after Lieutenant Emily Boss Lady Foster was put on blast by Robert Hanson, a great investigative journalist. We followed up with a podcast on that story, and the next thing we know, Tom Cavallero's announcing retirement. So, yay! Positive things.
The feng shui.
Yeah, the feng shui. There we go. Absolutely. So, speaking of some good feng shui, I can't even say that. How do you say that? Feng shui?
Feng shui.
Okay, I'll go with that. Speaking of, and that's like good. Isn't that like yes? Okay. Yeah, it's good that.
I'll show you. I have them. I have everything in different places. So I was just about to get my Buddha and hold them up for you.
Oh, gotcha. So it's basically keeping good order of everything.
It's just keeping order of everything, but it's just making sure that everything is peaceful and there isn't a lot of noise.
That's good. We like that. Yes, we like that.
Right.
So getting into some good feng shui here. We want to bring you now our next interview with a wonderful young lady out of the Bay Area, Michelle Robertson. Her family has been through some issues within the guardianship, which triggered the active person in her to get involved, and she did. And she's been actively engaged in that community and bringing awareness to what's going on with guardianships and even conservatorships. So we want to kind of give her some time here to kind of tell us a little bit about it and understand more about it. And here we go. We'll talk a little bit about it on the other side. Here we are. All right, everybody. Just as we had talked about, we are very happy to have somebody join us who's been out in the guardianship, conservatorship world as an activist, getting involved, helping people to get a voice in this world, because they're really being shut down by a legal system that is completely stacked against them. You might have heard my work that I've done with Jerry Cox and Mariposa and the conservatorship out there that he's going through. They're still involved. I've spoken with both. Well, I've spoken with his fiance, and they're still involved in that case, and things are moving forward still. But I want to bring you something that's really important because this affects us personally, our family members, and that is guardianship. And Michelle is the one who's really been out there. Her own family has had to go through a horrible ordeal about this. Please go to her Facebook page. You'll see it here shortly on the screen, and make sure that you check some of the interesting videos and the work that she's been involved in. Let me get off of here now because I'm way too long. Everybody, please welcome to the show, Michelle. Michelle, welcome to the show.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm going to basically start this off with like Brandy. Brandy, how much do you know about guardianships and these conservatorships that's going on in the courts right now?
Well, I mean, speaking personally for my mom who passed away from dementia. Yeah. So, it was a legal issue with, daughters and everyone involved. And so, it's a very near and dear to me. But I think that, when you're in the mix of it, you really just don't know enough about it, especially when it's very personal. So it would be great, Michelle, if you could just share what your personal experience is with it. And obviously you know, gotten a lot of information about it.
Yeah, it is something that you don't really know much about until it happens to you. And usually by then it's too late to really get out of it. And it's happening all over the country. Elderly people are being put roaded into conservatorship, really, and declared incapacitated. And a lot of them aren't. And there's no proof required. And someone is put in charge of their assets, a stranger that's making upwards of $150 an hour that they have to pay. And there's once it's established, it's pretty much a done deal. It's almost impossible to get out of. And like I said, you don't really realize what's happening at that moment. And by the time you do, it's too late. And there's just not a lot of help out there for it. It's very, very difficult to get an attorney to represent you because there's usually already an attorney appointed by the court. So they're not really allowed to get involved because the conservatee already has an attorney. It's a very difficult situation to navigate when you have no resources and not a lot of information on it.
So let me ask you this, Michelle. So my elderly grandmother who has issues, you're telling me that she can be taken from me by a guardian? I don't understand.
Usually, what starts the whole process, there's usually always some sort of family infighting that spurs this. Between siblings who have a different idea of what should happen to mom and her money or grandma and her money. And that's usually the catalyst for it all. And once that gets going, so you have two people who want control of grandma, basically, and have different ideas, and they file a petition for guardianship. What ends up happening is neither one of the family members will get guardianship. They'll appoint a third party, normally a fiduciary, that is paid. Ours was $150 an hour. Oh. And that person takes control of everything that your grandma has and basically is your grandma now. And your grandma's rights are stripped. There's nothing. She is basically dead in the eyes of the law because all of the rights are gone.
But she's a human being. She's my grandmother. She has rights. I mean, nobody can just because me and my sister are arguing about it and we go to file the petitions at the court to see who's going to take care of her. You mean you're telling me that all of a sudden this person's going to be appointed by the court and I have to pay this person because the courts want me to, and in the meantime, I can't hang out with Granny?
Yes. And they immediately will start the typical scenario is once they get control of the assets, they want to sell the house and put the person in a nursing home.
So wait a minute. So if my granny ain't got nothing, then, and me and my sister want to scream and yell and argue over who gets to take care of her, the courts won't really care?
Not as much. No. There usually has to be some sort of money involved, some assets for them to really get involved. There's the public guardian scenario, or the public, if there's not enough money, the public guardian can be appointed, which is just as bad. And then they take everything that the person has as well. And the thing about this that's so horrible is they immediately sell the person's house and put them in a nursing home and isolate them from everyone, from family, from friends. So
Michelle, can I stop you real quick right there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think the main thing that is concerning is that this isolation takes place and it's very obvious to everyone in the family. So when that starts happening, that is the cue for people to start recognizing we have a problem.
Yeah, I would say even before that, I would say as soon as the third party is appointed, that you didn't ask to be appointed. Because really, if you wanted to stop this, you have to do it within the first 3 hearings before the person is deemed incapacitated.
Okay. Well, but when you start seeing this relationship come to fruition, you might see if it were a person who is coming in as someone who wants to help, not necessarily family or a new relationship, then that's really when you need to cue in.
Right. Yes, definitely.
It's it's scary that this can happen in a land or a country that deems itself free. I want to show this video now because I think it's really going to help people kind of understand what takes place. I'm going to show it from not from the beginning because it's pretty long, but I want to show it from when is this the one where she's asked about being taken care of and whether she wants to be taken care of by these people or not?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, this is she's in a facility.
Okay.
And
so she's been taken from her family?
Yes, and her daughter's visiting her, and someone on Facebook started taping this, recording this, and as soon as she gets there, she's been informed that the police are on the way and that she's going to be removed. And for
why?
no reason. They tell her no reason. And this is from the Guardian. The Guardian has given these orders. Scared. And the mother is wants to see her. The mother's not incapacitated. That's the other thing at all, as you'll see. She's got everything together as far as I can tell.
And that's the most important part because they use that as an excuse, correct? To take her from these people?
Exactly. And they don't require proof, and they kind of sidestep giving the proof. And like I said, once it's established, you can't get out of it. It kind of just gets put to the wayside that, hey, there was never any capacity test done. There was never any medical proof proving this person, but it just gets kind of crushed to the side and never addressed. And so much other stuff happens. You never get to get back to that point. It's a mess.
I'm sorry if I'm jumping in here too much, Brandy, but when you said sidestep, you mean that basically they don't have to see the person whose welfare or well-being is being questioned in order to make a determination whether or not they should be placed in these facilities. They don't, this person never comes to court. Is it just attorneys? What?
Normally, of course, they should be in the hearing. That's going to take away every right they have. But what they have become very skillful at doing is they get these decisions done ex parte in secret without the person being there. And that hearing is instrumental because it's the last time that the conservatee is assumed to have capacity. And that's the hearing that they do ex parte without the person being there. So it basically, it takes away all due process, and the person never has a chance to speak. If they did have the chance to go to that hearing, they could very well just say, I've not been declared incapacitated, and the judge would have to end it right there. That's why they do it this way. That hearing's always done in secret, 9 times out of 10. Almost every decision, major order that was granted in my case was done ex parte without us being allowed to attend.
But it really doesn't make any sense because even in my mom's situation, she was given a lot of different tests and different things through Kaiser, and that's how they determined competency. And so is this like an issue of people who have insurance, don't have insurance, see a doctor regularly, don't see a doctor regularly? Because I mean, if you have that data, then this would not be an issue of somebody being able to just jump in.
I think if you have that data and the person really does have dementia, it's a different story. But I'm speaking more along the lines of people like my dad and aren't incapacitated.
So basically, these people have been brought into the system, though, into the court system because of the family, and that's how the court goes, okay, we need to get involved here. Instead of, just the, the person being, with dementia, and then the family saying, well, we need to, figure out her care. I don't know. I think that seems to be the way it just seems to happen in the courts. The family gets, in there, and then boom, things blow up.
Right. And
well, yeah. And I think even Michelle with that, when you have a family member, if it's a family member who is far removed or someone who hasn't been in the person's life or any of that, especially like someone they just knew in the neighborhood, you would think that would bring up like extreme red flags.
Yes, you would think.
Okay.
You would think.
Okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of tragic stories out there, and I want to get to this video real quick, so we can kind of show people, again, to set the stage. This woman is supposed to be incapacitated. She's not supposed to be able to take care of herself. So therefore she's been deemed a ward of the state, so to say. And now the state is taking care of her, and they want money because they are taking care of her. So this is one way that they, can get all of your assets, your grandparents, your father, your mother's assets, because they need this money to take care of your loved one. So here we go.
You can ask my daughter, Stacy Monroe and Barbara Monroe. Brandy turned off my phone and removed all my contacts from my room and picked up my mail and kept the things from Cindy Hendricks and kept them for herself.
You want me to write that down, Andrew?
She has banned Barbara, my daughter, from seeing me and said if she would be charged with elder abuse. Not true. Barbara is good to me. Stacy's good to me as well. And I put my lawyer.
She writes these notes on her own, and I get blamed for it. I haven't seen her in like 5 weeks. So she writes notes because she has no one to talk to, and then Brandy will say I forced her to do this.
No,
I never. I just.
My lawyer Leslie Smith told me Brandy did it.
Do you guys like not remember me ever coming in here? They must not. I brought candy in and oh, cute! Look at the little puppies.
Stella, Bella. Stella, smile.
What kind of dog is that?
That's just Stella. She's a Pomeranian, wiener dog, Chihuahua.
She's cute.
She's a mix of everything. She's the cutest dog ever, Linda.
So Brandy,
You're the cutest girl ever.
Okay.
I'm just hiding
why
them.
don't you guys
Oh,
can
and
utilize
hiding them.
you guys can use the conference room right now, and
Okay.
then Brandy said just to give her a call, and you guys can talk about this.
I'd rather see if you could help mediate or somebody in your building because she doesn't talk to us. And you guys see my mom and have seen me come here 50 sometimes and nothing's occurred. So like just show them that note you wrote.
Which one?
My mom writes notes like this, and this is
this here?
something she says I'm forcing my mom to do.
No, I wrote it myself.
And she has nothing to do, so she's done this her entire life. This is the kind of stuff she's creating, saying, oh, you are forcing your mom to write notes.
No, she's
And like,
not. I did
it's
that
not
myself.
fair. It's not, it's,
Now this is her mom, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And these people are telling her that she can't see her mom unless it's in a conference room right now.
They're wanting to do a call with the Guardian because the Guardian is trying to get moved right now.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, the phone call is something too. When you hear her with the Guardian tells her the police are on the way. She won't tell her why she's being removed. She tells her she'll find out in some date a month away. And she does. She gets removed. The video ends, but the police came and took her. And she videotaped that too. And they wouldn't tell her why. And now the Guardian's trying to put a no contact order on her.
But no, I appreciate Michelle's work because it's very important. And our elderly people should not have to go through anything in their golden years.
Right.
Amen. It breaks my heart to see my fellow human beings who should be with the grandkids, relaxing, enjoying, sharing stories, doing arts and crafts, that they're greeting me at Walmart or that they're having to cook me a meal at McDonald's. That breaks my heart when I see that because it should not be that way in this country.
Right.
So,
Shouldn't.
No. If you want to learn more about guardianships, there's a lot of great videos and information out there online. So please do some research, check it out. Also, a great video that Michelle sent me is The Deception of Protection, an anatomy of an involuntary guardianship on YouTube. So check it out. There's a few more as well, Michelle.
I have a lot on my page. They have good information and good just how to prevent it and how it happens.
Well, there you go, folks. Definitely check into it. Go to Michelle's page.
The best way. Don't take your problem for it.
Did you hear that? Avoid conservatorships at all costs.
Yes.
Don't take your problems to court if you can avoid that at all costs. Learn to work it out between each other. Talk to one another. Geez, you all grew up together. You all came up in this world together. You got to be able to take care of each other when things are getting tough, like losing a loved one, or they're going through aging process. You got to be able to work together.
Yeah.
Brandy, any parting words?
Hey, take the village.
Ooh, that's a good one. It does take a village. You got to be a part of that great village. Again, Michelle, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate you here at IPJ The Podcast, and keep doing the great work you're doing out there for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
So I was really impressed with her commitment to this guardianships and conservatorships, getting the word out. And I'm so glad she was able to come on the show and discuss it. What did you think about the interview, Brandy?
It's a topic that's really sad if you think about just what it does to families. But I think my heart goes out to the people that it's happening to, whether they're competent or not. They're being told what to do and how to do it, and it just breaks my heart because I'm not sure that there is a win-win in some of these situations. And I really hope that families are able to get this situated before it comes to this point, because it just breaks people up.
So many times I've heard about people who have a mutual understanding, whether it's a divorce and the husband and the wife, no kids, no issues, some property, some financial stuff going on, but no kids like that. And they're willing to mutually divide everything, and they just need the judge to sign off on it. They get the attorneys involved, and all of a sudden the attorney sees a path to a lot of money. And so then they start manipulating one or the other, saying, you got to do this, we got to file this, we got to go after him for this. Next thing you know, that wonderful spouse that you spent all those years with, and you have a mutual separation, a mutual divorce, because things happen. Now all of a sudden, you're caught up in a system that is going to take all of your money and leave you and your spouse with very little, except for a lot of grief and probably a lot of mutual hate.
Yeah, I think that's when we come up with the statement of, bitter with baggage. So
bitter with baggage, yes.
Bitter with baggage. I mean, families have to work through these things. And, personally, I'm going through something very similar, and I hate it, but it is what it is. So, it was timely that we had that conversation, because you really just would love to have someone who's empathetic, but also just be more informed.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
she was awesome.
And another thing too, her own family, having gone through it, her father, and the things that they had to deal with, it was just like, I mean, how? Why does the system, see us as just, money, to say the least?
Well, that's why I've been telling everyone, all of my students for all these years, you're going to be in my nursing home at some point. So I'm going to be nice to you.
Right. Exactly. We got to remember that, one day we're going to be.
It's me and you.
Yeah,
Me and you.
Yep, exactly. So remember, when you're looking at the youth, remember that
love you.
Yep,
love you.
They could be the ones that are giving you the shower.
You're going to be my caretaker.
Oof. So yeah, keep that in mind, folks. So I have some really important news and an announcement I wanted to bring to Brandy, and I didn't let her know beforehand, no matter how much she wanted to know. But I want to let all of you guys know too that we are now going to be. I'm going to pull it up here in real time. We are now going to be streaming on Podbean. This is our website. We are still in the process of working on it, of course, that I just started this. So we are on Podbean. We've sent in the approvals for Apple podcasts to be hosted with Apple, to be hosted on a slew of different platforms. So now you'll be able to see us everywhere. And in fact, we're streaming pre-recorded right now. We're streaming on 5 different platforms, including our YouTube, our Twitter, our LinkedIn, our Facebook, and our Facebook page. So, boom.
All right.
You've gone global. So in order for us to keep and maintain this happening, we do need your help. So if you can contribute, anything helps. The description is down below in the link. Please just click on that. Takes you right over to the PayPal page, and you can make a great little donation to the cause here. We really, really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that's what's going on, Brandy. That's my great and exciting news. We are now streaming on the big Podbean, which is the resource for all the podcasts. And of course, our podcast will be distributed from there onto the multiple podcast platforms.
I'm feeling the pressure.
Yes.
Feeling the pressure.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to go get my hair done.
Right? Yes.
Growing out.
But we don't have an expense budget, just so you know. So
No, I know.
yeah,
No,
keep it on the.
I'll recycle. I'll recycle.
Hopefully, you're not recycling anybody's hair, because that'd get.
No. My can.
I
I'm
got
good.
Fantastic.
Well, that's exciting.
Yeah. So we're going global. We're going to have this go to the next level. Why not? You know.
Nothing like pressure.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So
That's
thank
how
you.
diamonds get made.
Right. Yes. A lot of pressure. So thank you to our guests, both Miranda and Michelle. So we really appreciate them joining us on the show. Don't forget to tune in every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. 10 or 10:30 a.m. We do it one or two. It'll be up around 10:30 a.m. To our YouTube channel. We also are now Podbean, so all the other channels as well. Also, if you'd like to help us out with expenses, like I said, please give us a click in the description. You'll find it there. And always remember, folks, at IPJ The Podcast, it is your voice.
So use it.
Yeah, we did it. All righty. Well, thank you again, Brandy. I really appreciate you joining me on the show tonight and today, and have a great week. Look forward to a fantastic week.
All right.
Have a good one. We'll see ya.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.